Every story holds a spark of the human spirit. It's time to really let that light shine. This is Conjuring the Human Spirit, hosted by Shawn Meeks, a space for honest conversations, deep connection, and the shared journey of being fully alive. This season, Shawn also welcomes guests who open up about their own transformations and experiences, reminding us all what it means to heal, grow, and thrive, one story at a time. You're invited. Let's begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Conjuring the Human Spirit. My name is Shawn Meeks, and you are finding me in my little spiritual corner here in my spiritual room at the spiritual farm that I've created for me and my husband and you. So you're invited, so you can come anytime you want. And also, of course, we have the workshop coming up in March that's already filling up, The Magic of Listening. So you can find that information on my website at McGuireLife.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe, share with your friends. That really helps my channel. I appreciate it. And today we're going to talk about spirituality. I'm going to do it in a lighthearted kind of way because it is about everything, isn't it? Spirituality. What does that bring up in you when I say that word? You got ickies in your belly. You got ickies in your mind. You got happy, joy. Are you floating on a cloud because you're so spiritual, sitting in your lotus position or meditating 20 minutes a day or whatever it is you're doing that is spiritual? You're going to church on Wednesday and Sunday. You're going to Bible study. What's going on? Are you real spiritual? What does spiritual mean to you? And how is that any different than being religious? Or is it? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You know, I'm just so excited to talk about this with you today. I feel this is my thing, honey. This is my groove. When I talk about spirituality, it is so broad for me. Like, that's why I really enjoy working with you one-on-one, because I can meet you wherever you want to go. And it's a gift, one that's been given to me by being ostracized by the religious people who say I wasn't welcome. So I was like, okay, well then, how about over here? And no, how about over there? Let me try this on. Let me try that on. If you listened a couple episodes ago, I had a compelling conversation with Jason John Evans. Maybe it was an episode ago. I can't remember how long ago. Anyway, we had a compelling conversation around self-work, self-worth perhaps, self-work. And I think, spirituality really is about working on you first so that you can embody whatever is resonant with you spiritually or whatever's showing up, and so that you can receive it, because there are things that are ethereal that kind of float around out there that you can grab hold of and kind of have an idea of, oh yeah, maybe that, or maybe you're Catholic, you just go to church on Sunday morning and you do the beautiful ceremony that is the Catholic ceremony, but there's no embodiment in the spirit of you. And so the work that Jason and I were talking about in walking those steps on how to get rid of the icky, the things that are no longer serving you, that dress that doesn't look pretty on you, that are the character defects that you're carrying around with you, to kind of clear all of that stuff off, making way for spirituality to, kind of settle in on you. That reminded of that woman, I think she's Japanese, that I never watched the show, but a lot of people loved it, where she'd go in her house and says, is there anything in your house that you haven't looked at for, I don't know what her rules were, like 1 year or something, 6 months or whatever, get rid of it. And same in the spirit of you, what is kind of hanging around that needs to go. Because the spirit of us, the human spirit of us, can get full up. I mean, completely full up with TikTok and Reels, full up with family and jobs, full up with, you know what they are, friends calling and dinner parties and the drama at work, the drama at home, and the drama that's happening in your own mind. And so just trying to manage all of that, who's got time for spirituality? So many people who come to me and want to work are ready to shed some of that and find that which is resonant for them. And it's a privilege for me to walk with them and do that. I'm going to share with you some of the things that work for me. And I want to preface it by saying sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And I don't have the answers. I just have some tools. And I have to be willing to pick the tools up. If you were sitting here in my office, you would just be with me here on the farm. You can see me on YouTube. Hi. But if you're sitting here, you look around, maybe your mind is blown. Sometimes it's fun to watch someone walk into this room for the first time because they'll see Jesus over there with his arms spread wide with his heart, that Sacred Heart Jesus from the Catholic Church. And then over to my left over here is Ganesha from the Hindu religion. And then above my television over there is a buffalo that has deep meaning for me around the North Shield. The North Shield, some of the workshops we'll be doing here is around the 4 shields of human nature, north, south, east, and west. And in the North Shield sits the buffalo. That's the place of the adult. That's where I'm sitting right now in front of this camera talking to you as an adult, bringing my medicine, bringing my message, bringing my brokenness, bringing my healing, bringing all of me to you like a buffalo standing in a snowstorm, stoic, not moving. Snow and wind barrel against him. That's what I'm doing here, sitting in front of a camera talking to you, barreling through despite all my self-doubt and worries and insecurity on what you're thinking and all of that, like walking my purpose. That's spirituality, walking the purpose. What is embedded in the spirit of you that is calling you to walk in a direction that is your purpose, medicine for your people, to bring back to your people. In episode 1 of this season, we talked about the 8 deadly thoughts, and sloth being one of them. I was really surprised. If you didn't listen to that episode, it was really great because I think we have these ideas of what sloth is, but sloth really is about this disenchantment with your life in general. Like, are you sitting looking at reels for hours and hours and hours? You're watching television for hours, you're coming home, you're just disenfranchised with your life as it is, disenfranchised with this life, disenfranchised with spirituality, the afterlife. Maybe there's nothing here, there's nothing there. There's just frantic waiting to die. And so therefore, we're just sitting on the couch, wherever we're sitting, laying in the bed, not moving forward in our purpose. That's sloth. Sloth isn't about just general laziness, but it's about not honoring the spirit, the prompting of the spirit for your purpose. And so anyway, that buffalo up there, that just reminds me, okay, Shawn, here you go. Now's the time. 55-year-old man, how old are you out there? How old are you who's listening? How much time do you have? No one knows. You don't know. Are you moving forward in your purpose? And in doing so, I lean on so many things to guide me and help me to move forward. And some of you have one thing, and if it works for you, good for you, and I celebrate that for you. And you'll probably find representation of that here in this room. But for me, I need it all. I do. I need it all because what I've learned, once I got sober, I learned really around taking that which serves me, that's resonant in a teaching, and then discarding the rest. Not discarding all of it, because I certainly don't know all there is to know about every teaching, but there are so many teachings that have so many little gems, all of which in the core of all the teachings, be it Christian, Hindu, Muslim, whatever the teaching, shamanism, all of it, it's all love. That's the core of it, till power, money, ego get involved. And so if we're coming from this place of love, so then kind of taking these gems from all of these places in support of this life, this human spirit that's struggling or thriving or just doing the best I can every day. And sometimes all of this means something, and sometimes all of this means nothing. And it's like, it blows my mind because I'm just really trying to offer myself grace around that. I have not found the answer. Have you? And I'm, again, glad to know that I haven't, because when I say I know, then the learning stops. When you say you have figured it all out, then what else is there to learn? Being in this moment surrounded by the smell of beautiful Japanese incense that fills the room. So there's so many ways in which spirituality shows up. It shows up in all of our senses, through our ears, through the sound of my native flutes that are hanging on the walls over there, or the pounding of the drum, through the smell of Palo Santo, or from the smell of this incense, or there's even when I'm in workshop and people are here, or I've been out west and they've been, particularly out west, because if you're here, we've got a beautiful shower for you and you can shower every day and smell like a flower if you like. But out west, there was nothing. Like, we were literally digging holes in the earth and pooping. And then you were lucky if you had a shower, and it was cold and it was awful and all of that. But it was wonderful at the same time in some kind of way, because it really got me out of my comfort zone. But what I'm getting to is the smell that is the human smell. There's something about, like, my friends that I still am in contact with out there. I can even smell them now as I hug them. It's not a bad smell. It's just human. It's like we spray so many things on ourselves. This is a great metaphor, spraying things on our bodies to mask our humanness. We say we're spiritual, so that you can't see that I'm broken. We show you that I meditate 20 minutes a day, and I tell you all the spiritual things I'm doing. I'm going to church, I'm doing all these things, so that you can't see my humanness, my brokenness. I can assure you, I don't care who you are. And I think time has proven over, particularly my lifetime, the Jimmy Swaggarts and all of these men and women who say they have it all figured out, that are molesting children and doing all these things, that I think has really disenfranchised the human species, we as humans, those that we used to look to say, this is the truth. And then here it was all just perfume. It was all just spray to mask the humanness, because the brokenness is there in spirituality and the brokenness is there in religion. And if they say it's not, run in the other direction. And in my hand, I'm holding this shell, and I know it called to me before I wanted to talk to you about spirituality, and a little story around I care for a labyrinth at a gay campground down the road called Oz. It's a magical place if you've never been, and I care for this labyrinth that I built in this memorial garden there, and I took my leaf blower over there, and I was cleaning up all the leaves one day. And when I turned the leaf blower on, I just began doing what I was doing. And then I looked down on the ground and I saw something moving, and it was probably the size of it's like a large bug, almost like the size of if you're from the South, like a palmetto bug of that size, like big, but they were pink. And I was like, what is that? And they were kind of rolling. They were rolling along with the leaves. And I stopped and I looked down, and it was a mouse baby. And I look over to my left, and there was Mama cowering behind one of the stones that was in the labyrinth. And she was looking at me with these eyes of, oh, I can't even tell you, like, what's going on? What's happening? Just confusion and all of that. And I look around, and there's four babies, four of her babies, and I picked each baby up. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the shell. And I placed all the babies. They fit in this tiny little shell, and I'm holding them in my hand, and I'm crying that she had built a nest inside the nozzle of the blower. And when I turned the blower on, it blew her nest out along with her and the babies. And she sat behind this thing, and she looked at me, and that is spirituality. That is, she was connecting with me, saying, what's happening? And I'm holding her babies literally in the palm of my hand in a shell that came from the ocean. And I'm holding them, and I called my husband crying, and I said, told him what happened. And he said, and I said, took them and I put them in the center of the labyrinth. I don't know what to do. And he said, is the nest still there? And I looked over and there was the nest. And in the nest was this beautiful feather. If you go to my social media, you'll see the picture of this nest with this feather that's in it that was just, I don't know, it's magic. That's spirituality. So I put the babies back in the nest, and then I just had to walk away knowing that Mama was going to take care of business and take care of her babies. But in that was 4 babies. 4 is a very significant number for me. It is my personality number. It is my soul number. It is one that I discovered through numerology. So numerology is a part of my spirituality. And knowing that number, then I can dive a little bit deeper into what that means through various things. What does 4 mean? What did 4 mean to indigenous people? What did 4 mean to people around the world? What does 4 mean? What does 4 mean to me? What does 4 mean? I read tarot cards. That's part of my spirituality. What is 4? 4 is my soul card. 4 is my personality card. That's my card. Auspicious that both of them are the same number, and you add up my birthday, it becomes the number 4. 4, I'm not going to tell you my birthday because I'm so young, but I'm in my 30s in case you want to know. But anyway, so 4 is my number, and they both add up. And in my tarot card, the 4 is the Lord, and the Lord is about grounded masculinity. That's my spirituality. I was talking to one of the producers the other day when we were filming here, and we were in the pool, and I don't know, she hollered out at me. She's awesome. Shout out to you, D Daniels Media. And, I don't know who said it first, but she's like, I'm discovering my masculinity. And I said, so am I. She goes, most recently. I said, so am I. And it was this beautiful, beautiful exchange back and forth around, I see you. Do you see me? I see you. You see me? I see you. I'm going through this. Are you going through that? That's spirituality. That is me seeing you, you seeing me, and so on. And so in my shamanic practice, I practice shamanism, my journey to the lower world, the middle worlds, and upper worlds in search of, for my clients, myself, and soul retrieval. That's part of my spirituality. And in that, I've journeyed to the edge of the forest in the lower world, and I've met with elders of this land that crown me with horns, the horns that are also apparent in my soul card of the Lord, in the tarot card that's affirming that now is time to step into this place of grounded masculinity for you and for me and for Dee, so that I can say to her, this is where I am. And she's saying, that's where I am. And I have never been here. And I'm 56 years old. And here I am. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. What does masculinity mean? What does grounded masculinity mean? How can I show up in a real way for you so that you can trust me? That's spirituality. This building of trust back and forth. That's spirituality. Looking around my room, everything, oh my goodness, you look to my right, if you're watching on YouTube, I was in Africa, and I got this mask from Ceremonial African Mask, and I brought it home and hung it on the wall, and so many people said, that is so creepy, like, oh my goodness, it's so creepy. It wasn't creepy to me, but I wasn't sure why it showed up. It didn't have deep resonance for me. Spirituality, for me, it means something. When I say resonance, if you've heard that word before, resonance means that I'm feeling it, like I'm totally feeling it. I'm feeling it in my gut, like I'm feeling it in my heart. It is meaningful to me in a real way. That's a resonance. And so when you come here to the farm and you walk around, everything that's on the walls is either resonant for me or resonant for my husband, and it all has a message. And this mask that's beside me really didn't have a message. I mean, it was powerful. It was creepy to a lot of people. And I bought it and brought it home, but it didn't really have resonance. Couldn't figure out why. And slowly but surely, there were things that showed itself as I continue to listen to something bigger than me. That's my spirituality, my willingness to listen to something larger than me that says, hey, listen, I'm paying attention. I am paying attention, and I want you to show me so that there's resonance, so that I know that what you're showing me is what I'm supposed to hear, undeniably. So that my prayer is, show me so that I know from the core of my being that what I'm doing and seeing is what I'm supposed to be doing and seeing, so that I want to know it from the core of my being, right? And so when things show up, like on this mask didn't used to have this thing that I got at Cirque du Soleil on it. I wore it one day for a wedding a couple years ago, and I never really liked it. It didn't have any resonance with me when I bought it initially, but it was with Jeff. It was our first date, and I wanted to bring something home from Cirque du Soleil, and I brought it. It sat in a box for the last 20 years, and I put it on, and when I came home, I had this overwhelming sense that it didn't belong in that box anymore. It belonged on this mask. And then there was you see the feathers here. These are feathers that came from the barn swallow. If you've listened to previous episodes and we're building a relationship together, which I hope we are, you'll understand how meaningful the barn swallow is for me and why it's meaningful for me. Well, this particular barn swallow didn't have good luck in my side yard. It was attacked by something, maybe a hawk or maybe an owl, and it left behind all these beautiful blue feathers. And so when I mourned its loss, I celebrated the gifts it left behind, and I could hand them to my husband, who's so artsy, and said, I see these on this mask. Can you glue them on the mask? And so I've worn this mask in ceremony. These feathers here came from another friend of mine that asked me to build him a shamanic eye, this all-seeing eye out of something he saw on Pinterest, and could I build it from my land, and provided the feathers. And these feathers fell out of the bag and behind the cushion on the couch here in the room. And I built him the thing. And after I gave it to him, he loved it. And then 3 months later, I pulled away the cushion and there were the feathers. And they immediately spoke to me and said they wanted to be part of this mask. That is my spirituality, that listening. And so there they sit adorned on top of the hat. So on top of the mask, rather. And I have worn this in ceremony, sitting, recognizing that the spiritual self of me is different than just me, Shawn, the persona that is Shawn McGuire Meeks. This allowing myself to step into this place of the unknown and allowing myself to take on a new persona, this almost like a grace, something that's bigger than me, something allowing myself to see me without, like when we were setting up the shot, they showed me the video and I'm like, oh gosh, and all the judgments flood in, right? Not that, like separating myself from that so that I can be connected to something bigger than me. That's spirituality for me. And so I wonder if any of this resonates with you out there. You know, again, you're probably thinking, well, it must be nice to have the privilege to think about all these things. I'm just trying to pay the bills and I'm just trying to get by and I'm just trying to, but I would challenge you and say your willingness is the key. Your willingness to find spirituality that works for you is the key. And I think to allow any preconceived notions of what you think it might be, I think to allow that to fall away and just to have an open heart, an open mind and spirit and say, show me, just show me so that I know from the core of my being. You'll know it. I'll just say, you'll know it because it'll be resonant. If you didn't know what resonant, I didn't know what resonant meant when I was studying to be a life coach. They said, does it have resonance? What does that mean? That means, do I feel it? Do I feel it in my body? Does that mean something to me? Or am I just thinking it? Am I just saying it? Am I just saying it because I think that's what I'm supposed to do, or it's because it's the way I was taught as a child, or it's what everybody else is doing? You know, this book that I'm reading now called Grounded Spirituality by Jeff Brown really talks about the embodiment of our spiritual beliefs, the embodiment of what's real, and kind of letting go of all the preconceived notions of how you think I'm supposed to be in it, but just being in it the way you're in it, because you're in it different than the way that I'm in it, but actually being in it, not some ethereal, not some, meditate, not this, as somebody had coined this term called spiritual bypassing. Maybe you've heard that before. And it's like, I don't like life as it is, and I'm just going to be a monk. I'm going to be a nun. I'm going to meditate for 3 hours a day. I'm going to bypass everything that's happening in the world and politics and my life, and I'm going to bypass all of that, and I'm going to be spiritual. Well, I don't think that works. I want to encourage you to embody spirituality and embody that which is resonant, because it's that way in which we walk the earth like the buffalo and bring that medicine like the north, in the north as an adult, back to our people. That's the magic. That's spirituality. I want to tell you about one thing I got excited about this week that's also spirituality, because I think, we're so clouded by everything going on, right? Just we're drug around by the algorithms like we talk about most weeks on this podcast, drug around by social media and who we think we're supposed to be and all of that, that we're just not plugged into our everyday ways of being. And by that, I mean what's happening around us, the nature, the seasons, the animals showing up. Like I told you about these mice that showed up and their medicine, about, even the curiosity is the medicine of the mouse, which lives in the place of the south. If you do come here for a workshop on the four shields, the south shield, this place of the child, curiosity, playfulness, right? What does it mean when the deer shows up? What does it mean? I've got a kingfisher here. I don't have any water around me, but a kingfisher has been showing up. What does that mean? First checking in, that sort of thing. And the other night I had a bonfire in the back, and I posted it on my socials, and I was under this full moon. And as I was posting, I saw someone else was celebrating the full moon, and they said it was a beaver moon. Well, goodness, I had never heard beaver moon before. I certainly heard harvest moon or those sorts of things, but never beaver moon. And so I got curious, like, what does beaver moon mean? And it turns out these things are native. These things are from Native American people that had been here, that were plugged into the land. And I just want to share what I discovered around each month has a moon. And I just wanted to share these moons with you, just so that when you're looking at a full moon, it's just not a full moon. I want you to get spiritual with it. I want you to understand people have been thinking about these things for a long time. Allow yourself to unplug from whatever it is and take a look at the moon and be with the name for the reason that it is. So we're just going to go through them real quickly. January is the wolf moon, because wolves in January, that's when they're most active. That's when they're howling at the moon most in January. February, a snow moon. Most of the snow comes in February. So, of course, some of these are just real logical, but the March moon is the worm moon. The thawing of the ground is happening, and so we can begin to fish again, right? The worms are beginning to move again. April is the pink moon. The moss flocks are blooming. Beautiful spirituality. In May, the flower moon. I've heard that before. Have you heard that? There's a flower moon tonight. I thought, where's the flower in the moon? I don't see the flower. Why is it called a flower moon? Oh, flower moon. What's so special about that? Well, it's just simply all the flowers are beginning to bloom. Let's celebrate that in the full moon. That is the flower moon of May. In June, strawberry moon. Well, it wasn't red strawberry. I heard strawberry moon. No, it's strawberry picking time. It's that simple. Why is it the strawberry moon? Because it's June. Let's pick some strawberries. In July, it's the buck moon. The buck begin to grow their antlers in July. In August is the sturgeon moon. The fish in the Great Lakes at that time were most abundant. September is the harvest moon. Everyone knows the harvest moon. That's the time in which the farmers could go out and harvest their crops, and it were long days. But the moon, that full moon, shone so bright in harvest time that they could get the food and gather their food even at nighttime for their people. That's spirituality. November is the beaver moon, which was just the other night, because hunting of beaver at that time to keep warm and their pelts were the thickest at that time of the winter. And so that's when it was the best time to hunt them, for the best time to gather things that you needed for your family. That's spirituality. And December was the cold moon, because that was the coldest time of year. It doesn't have to be profound, but thinking about things that are outside of ourselves that are connected to nature is spirituality. And I'll leave you with one exercise, and that is these moon phases. Moon phases are, of course, tied into even the menstrual cycle. How powerful are the women that their cycles are tied into the cycles of the moon, or tied into the cycles of the ocean and the tides, and how magic is that? That's spirituality. And so when you're looking at a moon and a new moon, which I was so ignorant, I didn't even know the moon rose when I did my fast in the wilderness and the moon came up. I had no idea that it rose like the sun. Did you? Do you know that? Maybe you do. I had no idea. And there it was, rising in the sky every night. But when there's no moon, that's the new moon. And that's a great time for you to begin to work on something that you want to work on. It's spirituality. Find out when the new moon is. And you have 29 and a half days to work on something. And you can be affirmed on how you're doing by the moon's waxing and waning. And so on a new moon, you want to accomplish, you don't want to look at social media, or you want to go to the gym every day for 29 and a half days, and you want to be celebrated and affirmed by the moon. When there's no moon, it's a new moon. And then there's a waxing moon, which is one that's getting bigger. It's waxing. And as you watch it, it's a crescent. You can look up in the sky and say, how am I doing? Moon, how am I doing? Am I getting bigger? Am I getting better at what it is that I'm working on? Because then it goes to the quarter moon, the first quarter moon. Then it goes to a waxing gibbous. That's almost like a 3/4 moon. And then you got a full moon, and it's shining bright on you, on your intention, on your purpose. How have you done? You're halfway there. Congratulations. That's spirituality. You're working on it. You're pulling in the moon to work with you. And so let's wane together. Then the moon goes from that full moon, and you say, I'm doing great. And you're watching that moon, and now it's a 3/4 moon, but it's headed back toward the new moon. Then it's a 3/4 moon. Then it's a waning crescent. And then you're back to a new moon on the 29 and a half day. How did you do? You and the moon championing you and you celebrating it. That's spirituality. So I hope I've given you something to think about today. I only touched on some of the things that are here in my magic room here at the farm that you're invited to, so that you can look and see what's resonant for you. Also, I want to invite you to work with me one-on-one so that we can discover what's resonant for you. Go to my website, mcguirelife.com. I have a 12-week program. We walk together every week and work on whatever mission you want to work on. And we use all these tools, or we use none of them. It's your journey. It's our journey together. We walk and do this work together. What are you bringing is what we're using. And I'll say, how does this fit? That's not resonant, Shawn. How does this fit? That's not resonant. Like the mask wasn't. But then that's not, but this is, and we try it on, and suddenly you walk out after 12 weeks a changed person. Like the moon who celebrated you, you begin to celebrate you in this new accomplishment that we together have worked on here in this magical place at the farm. I'm sending you big hugs and love, and I want to remind you that you're not alone, and I'm always here. And I'll be here next week. I hope you'll tune in with me next week. And if you're enjoying this podcast, tell your friends. And meanwhile, big hugs and love from me, Jeff, Rumi, Plato. Those are my critters, two little chihuahuas. And I got Mr. Frog around here somewhere. He's pretty quiet this time of year, but he sends his love too. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Conjuring the Human Spirit with Shawn McGuire Meeks. To connect with Shawn, learn more about working one-on-one, or to grab your spot for an upcoming workshop, visit mcguirelife.com or tap the link in this episode's description. Thank you for joining us, and remember, you're not alone.